Hey guys, good evening. I hope I'm pretty much audible as well as visible. Right, so I hope people have started joining in. So, as per our today's agenda, we'll be again discussing about the natural language processing, the functions we were discussing yesterday. Right, so we did cover till I think synonyms and the antonyms, how we find that, and then post that how shall we proceed, right? So what next? What is required? What are the important functionalities available post the hyponyms, the similar sets, right? The word net basically. Cool. So, taking that forward, we'll be discussing about the other set of NLP functionalities available. So, we'll be discussing about some of the tokenization techniques, and even before that, we'll be discussing about the POS tagging, so part of speech, right? So, we'll be discussing all of that today, and then we'll try to wrap up our natural language processing functions. So, that's today's agenda, guys. So we'll be discussing about the remaining NLP functions. But as always, if anybody has any questions regarding our previous discussions or anything so far, right, to any questions we have discussed till date, or any NLP functionalities or anything apart from your career also, so please feel free to reach out, and I'm monitoring my chat, so I'll definitely come back to your query, like as soon as I see that. But again, if anything I miss out, you can always put up your question in the chat. So we'll try to come back. Right. So let's continue, guys. So as always, we'll start with the basic introduction. So my name is Arpit Jain, and I'm a senior data scientist myself. I have almost 9 years of industry experience with multiple domains. I've been working with the banking side, the manufacturing, automobile, telecommunications. So multiple industries I've been working with as a data science guy. Along with that, I'm also a motivational speaker. So I take the industry sessions, I talk to students regarding their job, regarding career, multiple options available post your graduation. So we do discuss on that. So if you have any concerns regarding your job, data science, so do reach out to me. So we will discuss. So should not be a problem again. As part of our playlist, the subjects which we're gonna take. So that's basically Python, SQL, data science. Python, we started about I think a couple of months back. So we are right now doing some advanced questions, the competitive programming questions, medium to hard levels from Lead Code and the Hacker Rank. So we are already doing that. That is ongoing. Along with that, we have SQL series, which is going parallelly in the weekends. So SQL is purely on the weekends. So we are doing SQL questions again from Lead Codes, HackerRank, the competitive websites. We have finished the conceptual parts there, but again we are doing the problem solving. So basically the practice questions on SQL. So that is again ongoing. So we are doing that. Data science. This is the current series of data science. So we have finished the visualization techniques through Seaborn. We did see multiple graphs there, and now we are talking about the natural language processing. So we are discussing about the techniques available in NLP, the functions. So we're going to do that. Post this, we'll be having the live chatbot, right? So that's the agenda. So we'll do something on Rasa. So that is basically my live chatbots, the automated chatbots. So we'll try to make one for our use case. So we'll do that. Right. But again, before proceeding further, you have a code right in front of your screen, which you saw that. So it is Python 10, right? So if you use the code Python 10, you're gonna get a free Relevel sample test paper. So what is that, right? So again, time for a quick promotion, guys. Please bear with me for this. So many times candidates do miss out on the great opportunities due to multiple reasons. So it could be like they don't have a better degree. So by better degree, I mean not from a tier A universities, or sometimes you don't have a right networking, so you have a poor networking, right? So you don't know the right set of people to ask for guidance, to ask for referrals. So very very genuine problem. Also, the resumes through which you're applying might not stand out compared to other 100 applicants for the same job, right? So there might be some keyword missing in your resume, or there might be something which is totally beyond your control, right? So that could be one of the things. So again, a potential problem. Also, you're applying to a number of jobs, but still you're not getting even a single call for your job for your interviews, right? So a very practical problem. I would say almost everybody faces this, so do not worry. So it's a very genuine problem. To in fact cater this only, Relevel has been introduced by Unacademy. It's one of the India's first test hiring platform by Unacademy, which is helping you to get your dream job, right? So here, how does it work? So you're purely dependent on your skills and knowledge. So your skills and talent. So there's nothing, any sort of dependency on your degree or any sort of people networking. So if you're skilled enough, if you have the knowledge, you should be getting your dream job here. So how does it work? As I said, it's more of a testing platform. So you will be asked to go through an assessment, and you will be judged mainly on a score, right? So if you're able to get the best score out of the test, so that's the only requirement here, right? So depending on your score, the companies will start reaching out to you on your call, right? So that's how it works. So purely directly dependent on your score, which is internally directly dependent on your knowledge, right? So nothing other dependency involved here. Right. So certainly many other benefits also involved if you participate in the Relevel testing platform. That includes at least 50 plus companies, including the top startups and the unicorns. They hire directly from the Relevel platform, and that includes ENY, Upgrad, Cred, Razorpay, Urban Company, and many more. So these companies are hiring directly from the Relevel platform. At least 1,000 plus open job positions right now, guys, across three different portfolios: business development, front end, and the back end development, multiple sub roles also available within these portfolios. Uh, this is completely online based, so you're not supposed to be physically present anywhere to be part of this test. So you can take this from the comfort of your home totally. And also, the best part is this is completely free, guys. So you're not paying even a single penny to attempt this test, right? So this is completely free. You can give it for free, so no problem at all in that, right? So only expectation from you is you have to finish the entire test in a single day time, right? So there'll be multiple rounds of the test, so you have to finish that entire test in a single day, and that day fortunately can be of your choice, right? So you can obviously choose your test date. Suppose that the Relevel scores will be revealed in a week's time, right? So that's how it is. So again, since it's an assessment, so there is a qualifying score here. So at least 70% is what you have to score to make your Relevel profile. And in any unfortunate situation, if you are unable to score 70% of the marks, you can always reattempt the test, but that can happen only after 30 days of time. So there's a time gap of 30 days. So keep that in mind, right? So with this Relevel, guys, you are in a unique position basically to invite interest from companies instead of you hunting for your own opportunities, right? So it's more like once you have given the test, just sit back and relax. The companies will start reaching out to you, right? So that's how plain simple it is. Registration is also quite simple, guys. The link is there in the description of the YouTube video. So please do go through that video. Go to that link. So once you go through that link, the first thing they will ask you is to choose the test of your choice. So there are three options right now: business, front end, and the back end development. Multiple sub roles, as in the business development, you have sales associate, customer engagement manager, and all that. So all of these business development roles, for the front end, it's more like Angular developer, web developer. For the back end, it's like data engineer, backend engineer, and all that. So depending on your role, on your area of interest, you can always choose the portfolio, right? So once you've chosen the portfolio, the next thing would be to choose the slot. So basically the test date, right? So slots are limited here. It's a beta platform, so please would request you to book it fast. So once you have filled up your test date, so the last thing would be to identify your basic demographics like the full name, email ID, birth year, current state, along with your gender. So, and then you have an option of a promo code here at the last. So you can always use the code Python 10 here. If you use the code Python 10, you're going to get a bonus Relevel sample test paper, right? So that's how it is. So if you're going to use the code Python 10, you're going to get a bonus sample test paper. And if you have used the code, you're going to get, you should be seeing a dashboard like this, where you have an option of a practice tab, where you have the bonus sample test paper along with you. So you can always download this and be prepared for your D-Day. So the questions are the replica sets of your actual Relevel examination. So it will give you a fair idea of how and what you should be preparing. right? So this is definitely one of the very good thing. So guys, at least since it's a free of cost anyway, so I would request you to please do register for the platform and at least try it for once, right? So you might see a benefit out of this. But again, if you feel that you're not getting benefited, always you can take your decisions elsewise. But at least it deserves at least one try. So do try it for once. With this also, we have an official Telegram channel as well. So the link is again there in the description. So do join this channel. It's a one place stop for all of your queries regarding your schedules, upcoming classes. So you won't be running around here and there for any of the schedules changes and all that. So all the updates will be pushed up in this channel. You'll be getting all the details live. And at the last, guys, if you feel that you're getting benefited, do please like the video and share with your friends. So that's the least we can expect from you. Right. So with this, we are into the data science NLP function. So we'll be discussing about the remaining set of functionalities today. So let's do that. But again, we have a question from Vishwajit. He says, "Hello, sir. I am a 2020 graduate from Jadavpur University, but due to pandemic, my offer got revoked. Now struggling to get a single offer. Okay, most companies candidates of 2+ experience in data science. Yeah, that's true. Should I switch to SDE role? Any advice, please?" Yeah, I understand it's a very unfortunate situation, and I can feel that. I can understand that. But okay, I can recommend you to do not be a chooser in at the start of your career. Okay, so when you say switch to SD, I won't recommend you to completely go haywire and start doing anything, right? But yeah, at least choose one domain. That's what I would recommend you to do. So if you have chosen data science, so I'm not sure which offer did you get. So what was the role there? But again, depending on the kind of degree you have done, depending on the kind of job you want to, right? So stick to that, because the thing is, if you do not stick to domain, suppose so you start looking for a Java developer role, and then tomorrow you start looking for a data science job, and post that you start looking for a web developer job, right? So you cannot do that, right? So stick to one particular domain. By domain, I mean here is basically the job role, the functional role which you want to be part of, right? And then in that job role, there will be multiple sub opportunities, right? So for example, in data science, you'll be having an option of data analyst, data scientist, business analyst, multiple sub roles, right? So in that sense, I would say that don't be a chooser. So be open for all the available options here. But at the very beginning, you have to choose at least a domain per se, right? So a job functional role which you want to be part of. So that would be my recommendation. So I'm not sure when you say switching to SDE will really make sense here. But again, my recommendation is to choose at least a particular field which you really like and which you from where you want to start your career, right? So that's how I would recommend you to be. But that's a good question, Vishwajit. If you have anything else to put up a question, we can still talk. Okay, just a minute. Let me open up the coach. So yesterday, guys, we were talking about the synonyms and the antonyms, right? So I hope that thing is pretty much clear, right? So nobody has any question in that. So that was pretty simple. So we were discussing about how we can find out basically the synonyms and the antonyms, and also we discussed about my stop words. Remember, right? So there were multiple ways we can alternatively tune this. So this list can be completely customized, right? So depending on your requirement. And also we discuss about stemming and lemmatization. So we discuss about the difference in the stemming and lemmatization, the multiple ways where through which we can do stemming, right? And the differences of it. So basically it's nothing but your rules, internal rules, whether it's more hardbound or more soft. So it's more of different rules available in multiple techniques. So it's like more of trimming of your suffixes, while lemmatization is basically taking a dictionary root word for the verb forms of different words, right? So that's basically how we have seen that, right? So I believe people should be fine with that. But again, let's quickly jump to my just a minute. So let me open up. Yeah. So I think this is cool. So now we'll be talking about some other set of functionalities available within our natural language processing. So We did discuss about tokenization, the hypernym, similar sets. We discussed about stemming, lemmatization. We finished this, right? Right. Cool. Okay. Right. So let's do that. So here, okay. Remember in lemmatization and the stemming also, it's more of, see, stemming again हम क्या कर रहे हैं? Stemming basically we are removing the we're actually removing the suffixes, right? So my and we're trimming off the suffixes of my verb forms, correct? But again as I said, we can obviously customize this, right? So the customization is what the flexibility I have in NLP techniques, right? So we discuss about the customization in my tokens also, right? So depending on our requirement, we can anytime fine tune the list, right? So that customization of my list is totally possible. Likewise, for any of these techniques like stemming, so we have an option to fine tune this the rules again. So totally possible. So now look at this. So I have the stemming done here based on the available list. So basically it's Porter, Lancaster, and the Snowball. So again, this is more of a rule, right? I told you. So these rules where my stemming is being happening is somebody else has written, right? It's more of a generic rule. What if your use case, what if your data says something else, right? So you might need some other set of stemming rules to be defined, right? So you can always customize this. You can always write your own rule. You can always write your own pattern which you want to identify and based on which you want to correct it. Right. So again, it's more of the regex. So the word replacements basically. So it's more of the manual rule creation using the regular expressions again. So again, regular expressions, as I said, it's a very powerful technique where you can just specify a particular pattern, and based on that pattern, you can always identify how exactly you want to replace the available text from your given data. Right. So that is purely possible. So again, what I've done is here, so look at this. So I've just used certain patterns. So can you see this? So I'm going to define this won't should be replaced by will not. The can't should be replaced by cannot. And I apostrophe M should be replaced with I, M as two different characters, right? You can see this. So any word which is suffixed by double L should be replaced by will. So anything which is suffixed by N apostrophe S should be replaced by not. Likewise for have, like apostrophe VE, right? So we write a short form of VE for have. It's like this. For S, for is, for RE, so it's like R. So I have identified a certain very fixed patterns which we generally use in our text, right? So like for example, out of we write something like this. So right. So you. Like, how should I write? Right, so like you are a good person, right? So it's like a sentence for me. So I can also write you are a good person. This also sounds good, right? So sometimes we kind of suffix certain jargons, certain words, and then we write the shorter formats of those words, right? So it's more like the word replacement, because internally it means you apostrophe RE means you are, right? So likewise, I've identified certain patterns and I've just done nothing. So I've just written a wrapper, so which is my regex replacer. I've just written a class regex replacer and doing nothing internally. So it's just like the regular RE replacement. So RE.sub. So again, we have a function called as regular. For regular expression, we have a package called as RE. So we can always use that. And then we can always replace the pattern which we have here. So pattern, my original pattern, I'm going to replace the existing with the replaced one. So existing is my this won't, I'm going to replace it with will not. Right? So I always have an option to do that. So just have a look at this. Meanwhile, I'll take up this question from Vishwajit. Sorry, I missed your question, Vishwajit. So he says, I have an experience in NLP of 6 months, but off campus I cleared 4 or 5 interviews, but in round 1 and 2, but lastly they said you don't have enough experience. See again, Vishwajit, so the thing is, you cannot do anything about that, right? So always be mindful of this thing that you cannot change what is there with you, right? Because you do not have experience, you do not have it. try to accept that and try to be confident while you talk, right? So when they're saying these things that you do not have an experience, you have to confidently talk. Yeah, that is the reason why I'm looking for the job, because I have enough experience, maybe academically or maybe solving in your own hand of doing the jobs. I have the right key skill sets. You can look at my resume, the kind of projects I have solved, right? So this is the skill sets I possess. And now I believe that with the kind of work I have done and the kind of skill sets I possess, I feel fit for the role which you're offering me. So for me, I personally believe that having a job experience does not really guarantee that you know everything. But for me, I feel that having the right skill sets always enables me to do any job, right? So that's how confident you have to be when you talk, right? So the recruiters, the HRs, they are paid to trouble you technically, right? So they're always paid to trouble you, right? So that is their job, to trouble you. So I mean, no hard feelings for anybody else in our viewership, but again, it's just a very normal technical reality, right? So you have to be confident when you talk. So the ultimate end thing is boiling down to your confidence, brother, right? So it's all how you talk, right? So ultimately, it's all depending on how you present your profile. If you say that, if whenever they're saying you do not have an experience, and you say that, okay, yeah, I don't have experience, please hire me. If you come on a negative note, they'll never hire you. Again, for any stress situation, for any negative situation, you have to be comfortable. You have to be confident. Got it? So that's basically how it is. Cool. Fair enough. Let's proceed. Right. So I've just written certain patterns here. So likewise, just one set of functions I have, right? So one set of patterns. So not necessarily this is the only pattern I want to replace or the only thing which I want to do, right? So you can always have your own custom set of lists defined, custom set of patterns, custom set of work which you're supposed to do defined. So this is where my regular expression techniques comes very handy, right? So you have to understand this. So you can always customize this. So I have defined this regular replacer here, and I have this wrapper here. So I'm just going to call it for any text I want it to be called upon, and I can see the difference. So now this I won't do it, got replaced with I will not do it, right? Great, thank you so much, Vishwajit. And please, again, if you feel that you are still having troubles, please do reach out to us again on the chat. So I'll try to take up your another further set of questions. So don't worry about that, right? So no question is bad, no question is wrong. So you can always reach out to me. We can always talk, right? So do not worry. And the end, as I said, it's all about your confidence, right? So the thing which you cannot change, you do not have your work experience, you do not have that, and you cannot change, you cannot do anything about it, right? So do not crib about that. Always be confident of what you have. Do not think about what you don't have, because that is the only reason you're trying to get a job, right? It's plain simple logic. So be confident of what you have. Forget about what you don't have. Right. So likewise, we have this replacer. So I can always replace it with my things. And eventually, so I have just used two different techniques here. So basically on the replacer, I'm tokenizing it now, right? So I have replaced it. So this will become, I will not be able to do this now, right? So I will not be able to do this now. And I'm going to call the word tokenize on top of this, right? So now I'm trying to complicate the things a bit. So I'm going to combine two different techniques together, and then I'm going to call that thing. Because ultimately, when you're solving a problem, right, it's not like somebody's asking you to please do a word tokenize for me, or please do a regex replacer for me. So nobody's coming to you and saying that, okay, hey, please do this and do that, right? It's not like that. So you're just solving a problem, right? And these are the multiple techniques which will help you to solve the problem, right? So now it basically up to you how you can specify these techniques and how you can specifically use these techniques to solve the business problem you're working into, right? So this is how it is. So I'm just calling the word replacer, the function, the rep word, which I just created as the wrapper here, right? And I'm calling it on top of the sentence, the text which I want to be called upon. And then I'm calling word tokenize on top of it. So fair enough, I can do that. So I've just printed the individual tokens here on the replaced version of my text, right? So that is purely possible. Cool. So with this, we are into our next set of technique or the functions I would say available in natural language processing. It's part of speech tagging or POS tagging, right? This is again a very handy functionality available, right? So here what it does, so basically now here what we do is for each of my tokens, right? So again, remember guys, tokenization is already done, right? So tokenization is my first step for any NLP technique. So after tokenization only we are doing all of these things, right? So now on the individual tokens, right? So on the individual tokens, I'm gonna identify the parts of speech for them, right? So basically, what is part of speech? My nouns, my verb, my adverbs, my adjectives, pronouns, conjunction. So all of these basically are my parts of speech, right? Noun, verb, adverbs, adjectives. You might have learned all of these in the grammar, the English grammar. You know this, right? So now for each of my tags, so for each of my tokens, basically, I'm going to specify a tag for them. So I'm going to give, so now this tag is basically a noun, or this tag is basically a pronoun, or it's a conjunction, or it's an adjective, or it's an adverb. So based on the context of my tag, based on the context of my tokens, I'm going to identify the tags of these, right? So this is where my semantic analysis comes, right? You remember what all we have? We have morphological process in which we're doing the tokenization, and then we have the syntactic process where we're trying to identify the individual token relations. We did in our stop words, we did in our say word net. So that is where my syntactic analysis comes. Now the next is my semantic analysis, where we're trying to find out the actual context of my sentences, the actual context of my tokens, right? So this is where my dictionary context meaning comes, right? So this is where I'm gonna put a tag to each of my tokens, or they call as a parts of speech, right? So noun, verbs, and all that, right? So basically here, I'm actually converting the tokens into a tuple. So what it does after I apply the part of speech tagging, so it take each of my tokens and convert into a tuple, where the first element of my tuple would be my actual token, and the second element would be my part of speech tag. So each of my token will now be given a particular tag, the part of speech tag, right? So got it? So this is how the representation is. It's a tuple, it's a non-mutable tuple. You can see this here. So the first form of my tuple would be the actual word, or basically the token, and the second of this tuple would be my tag, the actual tag, or what part of speech that belongs to. Cool. So basically, in nutshell, it's like POS tagging is a process of assigning one of the parts of speech to the given token or the given word. So we are assigning the parts of speech depending on the actual grammatical dictionary meaning of that word, and then given the token, the part of speech to each of the tokens. And what are the part of speech? My noun, my verbs, my adjectives, and all that, right? So there are multiple lists, so multiple ways where this list is given. So there's a shorter format. So once you apply the POS tag, right, it's just a one-line command, guys. Come on. So again, I'm telling you, application of this is nothing fancy. Look at the function. It's very simple. So I'm going to import this POS tag function, right? So just a simple function, and pass it over my individual the tokens, and I'm going to get this tuples, right? So the implementation is nothing fancy. Again, guys, do not think that a data scientist or a machine learning is doing something really fancy. No. Coding part is very simple for the data scientist, guys. It's all in the head. It's all in the logics, right? Whether you can identify कि आप जो कर रहे हो, that thing is right or not. So that is where the game is, right? So that is where the I would say a distinction between a good or an average data scientist, right? So it's not about writing a Python code in machine learning. So hardly few lines of code, few functions, right? So nothing fancy. It's all about how you implement it, how you can actually think about the problem. So that's where the game is. So here the POS tag basically can have multiple representations, right? So multiple representations क्या क्या हैं? Shorter formats like CC. अगर वो CC आपको दिख रहा है, it's basically nothing but the coordinating conjunction. It's more of a conjunction. CD cardinal digit. So likewise, there's an entire set of text available, right? So JJR adjective comparatively bigger. So and then you have what else? So noun. So NN is noun. NNS is noun plural. So like desks, right? So desk is NN. NNS is for plural nouns. So NNP for proper noun. NNPS for proper noun plural, right? So likewise, we have all basically available list of shorter formats of my POS tags. I have written down to the best of my knowledge. I have also given the definitions also, some examples also. Like you can see here is PRP, proper nouns like he, she, it, right? PRP with dollar. So PRP basically here it'll be something like, so you have a dollar sign in this. So it's like a possessive pronoun like his, mine, hers, right? So, and then you have RBR for adverb, right? And then RBS for superlative. So superlative adverbs like best. And for this is like comparative adverb like better, like all this. So very, very interesting as VB for verb, right? So, and then you have so all of this. So basically, you can just have a look at this list, right? So you can always come back to this video and just have a look at this list, right? So this is a very, very, very exhaustive list. I've tried to capture it from multiple sources. And then this list is basically where you have all the given set of functionalities available, right? So given set of taggings available, right? So now look at the implementation part, guys. So implementation is quite simple. So there's nothing fancy in this. So again, this POS tag is basically available in my NLTK package directly. Okay, so I'm going to call it through NLTK only. So on this NLTK functionality, I have the function called as POS tag. This library NLTK has a function called as POS tag. Okay, so now for this POS tag, right? So POS tag has to be with the tokens, right? So I cannot pass a sentence on top of the POS tag because sentence ka kya tagging hoga? So it has to be for the tokens, right? It has to be for the individual words, right? So this is where it is important. So now you can say this, I am going to school. So this is basically my sentence, right? I'm going to school. So now I have first tokenized this is my sentence. I'm going to tokenize this sentence. So basically converting the bigger piece of information, which is my sentence, to a smaller piece, which is my words. So now for each of my individual words, I'm going to pass the function called as POS tag, right? So identifying the tags of my individual tokens here. Right now, can you see this? It is returning me a tuple, so a list of tuples, basically where each tuple element is nothing but the combination of my individual token and the respective tag for that token. Right, so you can see this I is PRP, basically proper noun, so basically he, she, it, and I. So I is basically a proper noun here. Am is a verb pronoun. So VVP is like a verb singular third person am. Right, so yeah, correct. So this is my VBP. Going is a VBG, it's a gerund, is a present participle, so like taking and all that. So it's basically my VBG comes. To is like a verb, the tag is to, so to is like to go to the store and all that. So this is where the tag is. School is a noun, so it's a singular noun, so it's written as NN. So all of these individual words are now being extracted as form of a semantic analysis, like the actual dictionary a meaning of these individual tokens, right? So that is where it is used. Again, guys, it's a whole set of process, right? Again, आप ये भी मुझसे पूछ सकते हो कि can I first do stop words and then pass POS tag. So सबसे पहले आप क्या करोगे? Tokenize करोगे. Then maybe you can pass it over a stop word, then remove the stop words, and then maybe you can do a POS tagging, right? So again, possible. So in this case, maybe am, I, or to would be removed, right? So something like that. So the unnecessary words would be removed. So you might be left with, say, maybe going or school. So this would be left, right? So likewise, you have to actually understand, okay, how exactly you want to proceed. So this is like another set of functionalities available, right? So we'll see how to proceed with the question. So we have a live demo planned anyway. So we'll see, and we'll try to solve. And we'll try to connect all the dots together, and we'll try to see how we can solve a problem, basically, right? So all set of with all set of functionalities available. Cool. So why POS tagging is basically necessary now? So why POS tagging, right? So here POS tagging is basically one of the very important part of NLP because it works as the prerequisite for further NLP analysis as follows. So where further analysis are like chunking, right? So you know what is chunking? So we have something called as chunking. So we'll be discussing about that. So this is something for this is more of a prerequisite for another advanced set of NLP analysis like syntax parsing, information extraction, machine translation, sentiment analysis, grammar analysis, right? So for my further advanced NLP analysis techniques, this is one of the prerequisites for POS tagging, right? So again, you can obviously use this information for your own problem building process also. If you have the tags, you can always identify what is useful, what is not useful, and then maybe put up some of the regular expression rules or your customized rules to use these tags on top of that, right? So very, very flexible. So what is the baseline of POS tagging? So baseline of the basic steps of POS tagging is default tagging, which can be performed using the default tagger function. Okay, so we'll see what is default tagger, which is again a class of my NLTK, which is available under my NLTK. So default tagging basically assigns the same POS tag to every token, right? And it also provides a baseline to measure the accuracy improvements. We'll see that how does it work. So basically now we are somehow extracting these tags and converting these tags into some numbers, right? So some form of numbers. Ultimately आपको मैंने सबसे पहले भी क्या बोला था, जो end objective है for this entire exercise is converting the text to a meaningful number, and from that number do your calculation or the stats on top of it. Stats तो कभी भी आप text पे कर नहीं सकते, right? Stats जो भी आप करोगे, जो भी आप mathematical computation करोगे, वो number पे ही करोगे, and text तो number नहीं है, text तो text है. So end objective, guys, always remember, is to convert this entire textual information into some sort of number, जो कि internally binary codes में ही जाएगा for your machine to understand that. But somehow I'm trying to convert this entire thing into numbers. Cool. So here the tagging thing, right? So the tagging, the default tagging is done. The basic step of my POS tagging is the default tagging, right? And again, for the default tagging, I have the default tagger function also available, right? So I have just used the default tagger functionality, and I've passed NN. So basically, a customized NN for me, so a noun for my tagger. So for all of my individual tokens, now I'm saying that the default tagger is NN. So basically now it is going to assign everything as NN, right? So everything as noun. So technically, if I pass hello and hi, so this is not a noun, right? So this is not a noun. So now, but unfortunately, I have passed default tagger as NN. So by default, everything will be tagged as NN, as a noun. So this is what my default tagger is doing, right? So now on top of this, let's evaluate how good this is, right? So basically, let's try to evaluate my accuracy of this tagging. So basically, how accurate my tagging is, right? So for this, for the accuracy evaluation, we have a function methodology called as evaluate, which is available on top of my tagger, right? And this evaluate will be helping you to give, helping us to give or measure the accuracy of my tagging, right? This is very, very interesting, guys. So this is where now each of my tagging will be given a number, like a performance evaluation number, right? Now look at this. So can you see this? So I have the default tagger given, the NN, right? And from the tree bank, I'm just pulling up the random set of sentences. So tree bank basically is again a corpus where I have certain sentences predefined, right? I can also print this sentence for you. Let me just print this for you for now. So let me just print this. My bad. Sorry. My voice is not clear. Okay, that's Swapnil. Is it like fading away or it's like breaking? I just cross-checked. Looks like it's fine from my end. Please let me know if there's any specific issue. Okay, I'll try to see that. Okay, so now look at this. So now here what I'm doing is, so I have the random set of top 1000 1000 sentences available from the tree bank. Hey Jay, okay, it's breaking, is it? Okay, let me just check my connectivity once. Just a minute, maybe an issue with that. Okay, okay, looks like uh, pretty much okay from my side. But yeah, I'm trying to, I don't know. So I'm trying to make it. Uh, right. So looks good to me from my end. Yeah, but again, if you see still an issue, please do post up your concerns. I'll try to check my connectivity. It looks fine from my end. Maybe some technical glitch meanwhile. Okay. Okay, we have a good question coming here. So, should we use transformers library like Hugging Face for task in text summarization, sentiment analysis, and other tasks, or should I write model from first principle scratch? Yeah, anything is fine. In fact, transformers library for like Hugging Face, so many could be personal use case is pretty good, right? It does most of your text summarization, and it actually gives you the very good useful insight for your work. But again, there are certain set of rules available in that, right? So again, I'll tell you one thing, Vishwajit, to be very honest. So there's nothing right, there is nothing wrong in data science. Okay, so it's all comparative analysis in data science, right? So maybe if you're using transformers for your library, right? So like for your own available library for your model building process, for analysis process, or maybe I'm building something from scratch based on my logical understanding, right? So no approach is wrong. Okay, so no approach is wrong. It's just like a comparative analysis at the end. So based on your understanding, based of your analysis, how true to reality you are. So basically a metric of evaluation, right? So we evaluate on something. So ultimately it's gonna be maybe suppose I'm doing a sentiment analysis. So how good my classification is, how good my sentiments are being classified, maybe the accuracy of my sentiment classification, right? So it's basically at the end we're trying to evaluate the multiple models which we have built, multiple techniques, multiple paths which we have followed. So no approach is right, no approach is wrong. So do not think like that. It's more of a hit and trial approach. So for me, definitely either the approach is fine. Just try both of them depending on the time and the flexibility you have, and then compare it which one is better for you. So for some of the odd use cases, the Hugging Face would work fine. But for some, maybe your the actual custom regular expressions. We saw the edge conditions, right? So in those cases, maybe your custom build the logic should work fine. So that would be my recommendation for you. Cool. So that's pretty much it, guys. So here, what I've done is, so I've just taken few of the available corpus, the available sentences available from my tree bank. So it's like available corpus with me. So group of words with me. So I'm taking anything from the 1,000 indexes. So now I've used the default tagger of NN. So basically now I'm going to tag each and every tokens of my the tree bank sentences as NN. And now let's see this. Now if I'm going to evaluate this test sentences, I'm going to see the evaluation percentage of 13%, right? So can you see this? I'm only 13% correct here. So this is where the default tagger is making a mistake. So basically, I'm tagging everything to be NN, which is actually incorrect. Everything cannot be NN, right? So with this, the default tagging, we have achieved only 13% of accuracy, right? So I've only achieved the 13% of accuracy. So now what? So basically, in this case, now let's see how we can improve this basically, right? So what are different type of taggers are available, and how we can improve our performance of my taggers, right? So now in this case, I mean, instead of tagging individual single sentences, NLTK tagger L, so basically another functionality available, I'm going to use a class called as tag sentences or the tag sends. And this tag sends is going to help for tagging in the list of sentences. So I'm going to pass my entire list of sentences, and then on each of the sentences, I'm going to pass the basically my tags which I want to pass on, right? So here, so I have two different sentences, basically hi and then how are you. So basically two different sentences being marked up here, right? And I'm going to pass it toward the tag sentences. So tag sentences, what it does, it's going to first internally break up into the individual tokens, right? And then the tokens is going to find out the my individual tagger. So and then default tagger is by default NN anyway, right? So this is how it is. And then the untagging of sentences is also totally possible. So, and this untagging can also be done using the function untag. So first I have tagged it to a default tagger, for example, NN. I can untag this also. So, I mean, depending on my usage. So I'm just going to call the function untag on top of my tagged sentences. So here, now I had the hello as NN and also hi as NN, which is my tagged as from the default tagger. I'm going to have this hello and hi defined without being tagged. So it's like an untagged version of my tokens also using the untagging of my sentences, right? So now what is the unigram tagger? So something called as the unigram tagger. So let me explain you that. This is again very interesting. So I'm going to pull it here. So now what is unigram tagger? So as the name implies, guys, so unigram tagger is nothing but a tagger that only uses a single word or its context for defining the POS tag. Right? In simple words, this is a tagger where it's a context-based tagger whose context is a single word, that is a unigram. So we are only talking about a single word here, no relation with anything else. We're looking about a single word at once, right? And now for this single word, I'm going to pass the actual tagger based on that individual word's context. Right. So now here what it does is going to use the actual word's context, and then the based on that word, going to give the tagging. So here the unigram tagger is now implementation is quite easy. So we have a component called as a unigram tagger. So now post default tagger, which is a single tagger for all of my tokens, I'm going to use a default tagger, a unigram tagger. Right. Okay, meanwhile, I have a question here from Swapnil. So, does master degree ME Tech require for data science role? Okay, so I'll be again very honest with you. So, at the end of the day, it's all your skills. Okay, so it's not mandatory. So, it does not mean that if you have a master degree like ME or Tech, you'll get a job, right? I mean, it's ultimately boils down to your skill set. It's boiled down to your knowledge, right? So the thing is, having a master degree always helps to get your shortlistings done, like the resume getting shortlisted, right, and all that. So this is where your master degree does help. You will get a better visibility if you have a master's degree in that sense, right? But it does not guarantee your job. Yeah, definitely you'll be getting a shortlisting, might be a better shortlisting, but it does not guarantee your job. On the other hand, yeah. If you do not have this, yeah, you will be having some trouble in getting the shortlisting done, but that's where you can always ask for referrals. You can always ask for some of your friends to help you with, so you can apply to as many jobs as you can. There are a lot of ways where you can increase your probability, right? But again, if you're skilled enough, if you have the shortlisting, you can obviously crack the interviews, right, based on your knowledge. So having a master degree is not a mandatory requirement, to be honest, but again, it does help you to get your shortlistings better. It's at the end, it's your knowledge. So I hope that answered your question, Swapnil. Right? Cool. Okay, so coming back. So now here in the unigram tagger, I'm going to use the individual tokens, and based on that individual tokens context, the actual grammatical context from the dictionary, I'm going to assign the tags to this, right? So here I'm going to use like first 2500 sentences for my training purpose. So I've used the starting index till 2500 from again the tree bank. So I'm going to use that tree bank, the available default corpus with us, like corpus or the group of words with us, right? So here I'm going to use this train sentences. On the train sentences, I'm going to pass the unigram tagger, right? So what unigram tagger does, for each of my tokens, it is going to assign a tag, a part of speech tag. Right? So now on this tagger, basically, I'm going to also do the evaluation, right? So now this is my trained a tagger. So trained tagger, based on the logics, based on the available text. This is how I have trained my available corpus, right? So now I have a available list of test sentences. I've written another set of test sentences. I'm just taking it from the last 1500 to, I mean, taking some random data for testing, right? So in this case, I'm going to pass the test sentences on the evaluate. So now using the same tagger, the unigram tagger, which I have used for the training purpose, I'm going to evaluate this on the test sentences, right? And can you see this? Now my model, the basically my performance of my tagging has improved drastically from 13% to 89%. Can you see this? So just by using the individual context, definitely default tagger is what is not correct, right? So everything cannot have a single tag. That is technically not possible, right? So now here definitely based on the individual context of my tags, individual dictionary context of my tags, I'm going to have the POS tagging given to each of my tokens, and I have a better model here using the unigram tagger. So unigram tagger kya hai guys? Again, it is using a single token at hand. So it is still not using the relationship between my individual tokens, right? So maybe the two words joined together like a bigram tagger, right? So where I'm going to use the multiple words together. This is again using a unigram tagger, right? So unigram tagger से हमने training किया, and then from the training we tested it on a random sets, and then we got a performance of 89%. Making sense? Cool. अब चलते हैं. Now I have something called as the combining tagger. So अब combining tagger क्या है? Combining tagger or the chaining taggers with each other is one of the important features of NLTK. So the main concept behind this is basically one of the tagger doesn't know how to tag a word. It would be passed to the chained tagger, right? So basically now one tagger is being cascaded to another word. So one of the words, now I'm trying to identify the relationship between my words here now. So I'm not taking the tokens, my individual words separately. In fact, I'm trying to identify the tokens together. So now I'm trying to cascade the tag of one token to another and trying to see the impact of that. You got it? I hope I'm making sense, right? So if by any chance it is getting too complicated, just do let me know. So I've again tried to add the context, which I believe is very important. So combining taggers. So post the unigram tagger, the objective is to have the relationship between my multiple tags, right? So how my multiple individual tags are used, and based on that tagging, how my the relationships are being built up on the individual tokens, right? So for this, we're going to use the combining taggers. And combining taggers, actually, we have the tagger called as sequential back of tagger, which is actually used for this purpose, for the back of tagging feature. So basically, my one tag is being chained with the other tag, right? So basically, one word tag is being chained with the other word tag. So I'm going to use the sequential back of tagger. So the sequential back of tagger is going to track the tags of the previous and the subsequent blocks. The sequential blocks, right? So sequential tags, the word which is coming before and the word which is coming after, and then this is how it's going to track, right? So here basically this sequential back of tagger is going to use where the word would be passed to the next tagger, so that until there are no back of taggers left to check. So now for each of my taggers, this tagger, what it does, each of my word, what it does is going to pass the tag to the next word until the end is reached, right? So it's going to keep the track of all the words coming in sequences and trying to make up the meaning of a sentence instead of meaning of a word, right? So with this sequential back of tagger and the tags it's been given, it's going to combine the tokens together based on the grammar, and then based on the grammar tags, it's going to find out the logical connection between my sentences. You remember we talked about in the semantic analysis the actual meaning of my sentence. That's where the sequential back of tagger comes. Cool? Making sense, guys? Now you are able to connect the dots. Now look at this. So on this unigram tagger, so now and the default tagger, what I've done. So now look at this. So I have again first created the tagged sentences, the training sentences here, right? I'm gonna do a back of tagger with a default tagger n, and then I'm gonna pass it to the unigram tagger. So in this unigram tagger, I'm gonna give a back off of back tagger, which is nothing but my nn. So basically now, which each of these unigram tagger, which is being identified for the training sets, I'm gonna say that compare it with the next sentence, with the next token, which is my default tagger is n, right? And then find out whether this is actually making sense or not. So basically, having a tag of my current word and then having a tag which is a default tag of my the subsequent word, which is noun or any default tagger. I'm gonna compare how does it make sense? How exactly this is making sense? How exactly these two are related? Whether it is technically related or not. And then I'm going to evaluate on the test sentences, again a random set of sentences here. And if you're going to use it in the evaluate, you can see this, the performance is now actually improved almost slightly from 89% to 90.6%. So 89.4 to 90.6%, right? So basically, that's how you can think of. So adding a contextual information, adding a more of a granular information to my sentence, like the meaning of my sentence, we were able to further improve the performance, the accuracy of my tagging by around roughly 1.5 or 2%, right? So that's how my back off tagging works. Making sense, guys? Any questions? Any questions in tagging? So POS tagging is very important technique, guys. So we do it is a very commonly used technique. So we discussed about the default tagger, we discussed about the unigram tagger, and then we discussed about the back off tagging technique. Again, guys, this is whole customizable, right? So what I'm showing you here is one odd example, right? It's not necessary that this is the only way you can implement this. It's like one odd example of your tagging process. You can any day customize it based on your requirement, right? So that is totally possible. So again, this is where my tagging things are. So this is where my unigram, my back of tagging, my default tagging are placed. So now I have again a further set of taggings available like n-gram tagger. So now instead of doing a back of tagging, sequential tagging, I can also do a bigram tagger or a trigram tagger. So in this case, basically now instead of checking a single word together, right, I'm gonna check multiple words together, right? So technically an n-gram means a subsequence of n items, right? So here, if I'm talking about the bigram, it means that it is going to look at two items together or two tokens together, right? You're going to correct. So here, basically here, the item would be, the first item would be my previous tagged word and the second item would be the current tagged word. So my previous and the current word. So this is what my bigram tagger will do, right? On the other hand, the trigram tagger, what it does, it will find out the previous, current, and the next word. So it's like more of making multiple words together and making a window of those different individual tokens available and trying to find out the context of these subclasses, the taggers which I have, right? So this is how the n-gram tagger would work, or whether it is a bigram or a trigram, right? So now look at this. So I'm using the same set of sentences just to have the same comparison. So I've used the same set of sentences for my comparison. So I've used the 2500 for my training purpose and the 1500 onwards as my testing sentences. I'm going to evaluate that. So now here from this NLTK tag only, I'm going to import, instead of unigram tag, I'm going to import bigram tagger, right? So I've trained this bigram tagger and then I'm going to pass it over the bigram tagger evaluate. So now see this, the evaluate has actually resulted in a lesser performance of 44.67%. So technically, your bigram tagger is actually not giving you a better performance. And likewise, on the trigram tagger also, instead of bigram tagger, we have just imported a trigram tagger and then did the same thing, and I'm going to evaluate a trigram tagger. You can see the performance although further deteriorated. So it is not necessary that a bigram or an n-gram, any n-gram tagger gives you a better result. It's not. This is the only reason I showed you this example, right? So many times people feel that I'm gonna include multiple grams together and then I'm gonna solve the problem because it is making a connective dot. It's not necessary. So it's not necessary that your immediate subsequent tokens are logically connected, right? So it might be some other context in your sentences which is connected together, right? So always look for the options. Again, do not feel that bigram tagger or n-gram tagger the option which I have. So I've shown you the different tagging techniques, different tagging options we have, right? So from which you can always choose. So we discuss about the default tagger. So we have a default tagging technique available. So we discussed which is where the lowest performance is coming. And then post that we have an option of a unigram tagger. So we discuss about the unigram tagger where the individual text, individual tokens are being referred to the dictionary context of the words. And then we discuss about the back of tagging. So where we have the based on the subsequent tags, so the chain reaction kind of a thing. So one tag has been forwarded to the next word, right? So and then the comparison does happen. So that's where the back of tagging is actually helping you keeping the context of my sentences together, because it is taking all of the individual words, not taking a pair of words, right? So this is where the back of tagging is giving you the better results. And then trigram and the bigram tagger are, you can see, so you have where the n units of things taken together, like the n tokens, like by 2 tokens or 3 tokens, like in bigram or trigram, and then you have the model performance further deteriorated, right? So now post this, we have an option of combining taggers. So we can always combine the entire taggers together to make of the sentences, right? So we can combine the multiple taggers. So we can combine the unigram, the bigram, the trigram, the default tagger, and the back of tagger, and then find out the entire evaluation purpose. So now what I've done is, so based on these taggers available, I want to create a chain of these unigram, bigram, and trigram, right? And then definitely in the back of, I'm going to pass the default tagger, which is my NN, so like a default tagger, right? So can you see this? I'm just created a combined tagger here, right? So in this combined tagger, I'm going to have a sequence of my information, right? So basically, I've created this function here. So where in this function, I'm going to pass it over my tagger classes, each of the tagger classes. And for each of my tagger classes, I'm going to pass the backoff function. So basically, this back tagger is being passed on each of my individual tagger classes, right? And then the results are being evaluated, right? So basically taking the references from all of my n-gram tagger, so unigram, bigram, and the trigram, right? So I've passed it over the back of tagger functionality here, this list of taggers, and then I'm going to evaluate it on the combined tagger available. Now this is the best model I have achieved, so it's like 92%. It's like more of combining the different techniques together to give you the final output. So it's like where my combining taggers would be given. Cool, guys? Making sense? Is it too overwhelming? Is it making sense? Any questions, guys? Any questions? I hope it is making sense, right? So, okay, so if that is fine, I think we have really some interesting topics coming up. So, parsing, for example. So, parsing is actually, again, a very interesting thing. So, we discussed about the chunking, we discussed about parsing, right? So, why POS tagging is needed. Like, for example, chunking, my syntax parsing, my sentiment analysis, and all that. So uh, we'll take it one by one. But I believe this is actually a very decent information which we discussed today. So I hope this is making sense, guys. So let's start with chunking or the parsing tomorrow, and maybe let's have a refresher of what we discussed today, because it's more of, I think, a little bit of overwhelming information. I think specifically on the POS tagging part, guys. Please do let me know if I'm making sense. So I'm gonna give a quick recap of what we discussed on the POS tagging. So what is POS tagging, guys? So it's basically assigning the part of speeches to my individual tokens here, right? And what are my tokens? My individual words. So I'm gonna define the grammatical part of speeches, like the nouns, the verbs, and the adverbs on top of my individual tokens here. That's what my part of speech tagging is. So POS tagging is, right? Multiple set of tags available logically. So what it does is, when I'm going to pass the POS tag function on top of my tokens, so each of my each and every single token will be assigned a tag here, right? So I, for example, is been given PRP, which is a proper noun, and then am is given a VBP, like a gerund verb pronoun, and then I have a going for VBG, then I have school for noun, which is nothing but as a noun. So a singular noun. So for all of these individual tokens, I'm going to assign the tags, right? So now the thing is tag. So basically how this tag is being evaluated. So how do you know that this tagging is good? This tag, the tagging which is being done is actually right. So there has to be a performance evaluation metric, right? So there has to be some number based on which you can evaluate what is correct or what is right or what is wrong, right? So you have an option called as evaluate. So based on this evaluate, you can evaluate how good this tagging is. And definitely this tagging, so for this evaluate, you have to pass how exactly you have trained, how exactly you have tagged basically, and then on the tag you're gonna assign it to the some random testing sets, and then you can test your performance on top of that. So three things which we discussed broadly. So we discussed about the default tagger, we discussed about the n-gram taggers, and then we discussed about the combined tagger. Right, so this is broadly we discussed. So default tagger kya hai? Default tagger is we are defining a default tagger in there. So I mean a default value, default tag for all of my tokens. So we discuss about like giving NN like a noun for each of my tags. So if you're going to pass default tagger on top of my contents, my tokens, all of my tokens will be given a single default tagger, which is NN, right? So which definitely we understand which is not correct. So I have used it for the training purpose. I've just used a random set of sentences available in my tree bank corpus, and then evaluated on other set of sentences. The performance is really bad, because we understand the default tagger is not an ideal way of tagging sentences. So we see the performance is 13%, right? And then we move towards the basically my the n-gram taggers, like unigram, my bigram, my trigram, right? So unigram, bigram, and trigram, what it does? So basically n-gram tagger, right? So n-gram means where n means the number of units or the number of tokens it take at a time for the evaluation purpose. So here unigram means the analysis is being done on a single unit or a single word at a time. So this single word will now be given back to the dictionary roots, and then from the dictionary roots it will be finding out the actual contextual meaning of these the grams or the unigrams, the individual words, right? So if you use this unigram tagger and then train the sentences on the available tree bank corpus and then tested it, the performance was better. I would say way better. We reached almost 89.4% using the unigram tagger, right? And likewise, we also discuss about the bigram and the trigram. But before you bigram and the trigram, we also discuss about the back of tagger, where the chain or the sequential tagging comes, right? So in this chain tagging or the back of tagging, I'm basically cascading my one tag to the another word, so the next subsequent word, and it will keep on happening till the time the last word has come, right? So basically, it's more of the back of tagging where I'm cascading my one tag to the another subsequent word, right? And then the combination, the analysis happens on the combination of my individual tags together, right? So when I've used the back of tagging technique, so where I've used the sequence of unigram tagger on top of my default tagger. So I've given the back of here. So this is my back tagger, nothing but my default tagger here. My model has further improved. So now from 89.4 we improved from to 90.6, almost 1.2% of improvement here, right? So this is what my sequential tagging comes, my back of tagging. And now the remaining n-gram taggers, my bigram or the trigram. So here I'm going to talk about my individual n units of my token. So bigram means two token units. So two tokens taken together. The one which is the current and the previous one. And in the trigram, we're going to take the previous, the current, and the subsequent, the next word. So it's more of the pairs which we take for the tagging purpose, right? And these three words together taken back to the dictionary roots and try to understand the contextual meaning, right? So this is where we observe that this bigram and trigram is actually giving you a poor performance, like 44% and 41%, right? Because so technically if you take two words together and go back to the dictionary roots, it will not make a technical sense, right? Because those words might not be having a direct relationship most of the times, right? And then at the end, we have a last option of combining taggers, right? So where I can actually combine the multiple taggers together to have the final output with us, right? So in this combining tagger, I basically am passing the list of or the chain of or the collection of all the different tagger classes, and then I'm going to pass the backoff functionality on top of each of my individual taggers, right? So, and then in this tagger, I'm going to pass the unigram, my bigram, and my trigram. So this combining tagger, you can see this, I'm going to pass the list of all the taggers available here, the unigram, bigram, and the trigram. And in the backoff, I'm going to pass the back tagger, which is nothing but my the default tagger here. So this is my default tagger as a back tagger. And then when I'm going to test the functionality, I have the best result here. So the combination of my individual taggers is where I could see that the most of the tagging is making the realistic sense, right? So this is where I could say the best performance of 92.3%. Cool. So I believe, guys, this is again a very important or one of the very key technique available in my NLPs. So my the tagging technique basically. So PUS tagging is very important, one of the very interesting technique, guys, available in NLP. So again, I hope I made sense in this, right? So you can always make your custom rules. You can always define your custom set of tagging technique which you want. So again, regular expressions are always your best friends in NLP, right? So if you feel that anything is not working good, anything is not making sense to your data, right? So you can always customize your rule. You can always make your own set of rule to cater your own problem statement, right? So you can always do that. So you have the flexibility for that. Cool. So that's what it is, guys. So with this, I'm pretty much done, guys. So I'm pretty much done for the day. So I think let's take another set of functions. I think we have what chunking. I have I have another good function. So vectorization is very important. So let's take about vectorization tomorrow. Right. So I think maybe I'll take one more class to finish up the functions. Again, guys, see again, I'm not rushing up into finishing up things. The things, right? So this is something I would say which is some of the other times important. Cool. With this, guys, I'm pretty much done. If anybody has any questions, do let me know. We can take that. The voice is repeated. Okay. To be honest, I'm not sure what's being wrong here. Okay. Okay. Anyway, so I'll check that maybe for our next session. Doesn't look like issue from the streaming side. But okay. I mean, there could be some technical glitch, so I'll get the ops team to check this once. Right. So, but again, guys, I hope I was able to clarify the things which I wanted to convey. Right. I hope you are able to understand that. Cool. So I think with this, let's wrap up for the day, and then again, let's meet up tomorrow at the same time, 10 p.m. So we are going live 10 p.m. now. So we'll be meeting up at 10 p.m. and then we're gonna cover this NLP tomorrow. So we have vectorization and some of the techniques available. So we're gonna cover those tomorrow, and then we're gonna wrap up my NLP functionalities. Cool. Great. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for being patient, and let's see each other tomorrow at the same time, 10 p.m. Thank you so much. Bye bye.